Before the clash of steel, there was waiting, endless waiting. Ancient war camps stretched across open land like temporary cities, but without the order or safety of one. Thousands of soldiers packed together, tents scattered unevenly, fires burning through the night. From a distance, it looked powerful. Up close, it felt unstable. There was no uniform structure in many early armies. Different tribes, regions, and groups brought their own habits, their own leaders, their own tensions. Discipline wasn't always enforced, it was negotiated, and that made the camps dangerous, even before battle began. Sleep was never deep. You were surrounded by strangers, armed strangers. Arguments broke out easily, over food, over rank, over nothing at all. And when they did, they didn't end with words. Weapons were always within reach. Food was another problem. Supplies were inconsistent, often stolen, rationed unfairly, or simply ran out. Soldiers learned quickly that survival meant taking what you could, before someone else did. Trust faded fast. Hunger changed people. So did fear, because every man in that camp knew something the world today often forgets. Most soldiers didn't want to be there. Many were forced, others were desperate. Some didn't even fully understand the war they were about to fight. They just knew one thing. Soon, they would be expected to kill or die. And as the days passed, something shifted. The camp stopped feeling like a place of preparation and started feeling like a place where humanity was quietly slipping away. Long before swords clashed, the first enemy had already arrived. It couldn't be seen, it didn't wear armor, and it killed more soldiers than battle ever did. Disease. Ancient war camps were breeding grounds for it. Thousands of men crammed together, living in tight, unsanitary conditions with almost no understanding of hygiene. Waste piled up quickly. There were no proper latrines in many camps, just open areas where human waste collected, seeping into the ground, and sometimes into water sources. The smell alone was overwhelming. Rotting food, sweat-soaked clothes, mud mixed with waste. It clung to everything. Clean water was rare. Soldiers drank from nearby rivers or stagnant pools, often the same water used for washing, cooking, and disposing of waste. It didn't take long. Stomach illnesses spread rapidly. Fever followed, weakness, dehydration. One man falls sick, then 10, then hundreds. And there was little anyone could do. Medical knowledge was limited. Treatments were crude. Some believed illness was caused by bad air. Others thought it was punishment from unseen forces. Either way, the result was the same. Men died slowly before ever seeing the battlefield. And the living, they were forced to stay among the sick, sleeping beside them, eating near them, listening to coughing, groaning, and silence. When the sounds finally stopped, bodies weren't always buried immediately. Sometimes they couldn't be. The ground was too hard, or there were too many, so they remained close, a constant reminder that death wasn't waiting ahead in battle. It was already here, spreading quietly through the camp, taking soldiers, one by one. In a war camp, information was never clear. There were no reliable updates, no instant communication, just whispers moving from one soldier to another, changing shape with every step. The enemy is closer than we thought. They've already wiped out another army. They take no prisoners. No one knew what was true. And that uncertainty, it spread faster than disease. Fear settled into the camp like a fog, invisible, but impossible to ignore. Every sound at night felt like a threat, a snapped twig, a distant shout, the wind moving through tents. Sleep became lighter, shorter, restless, because at any moment, everything could begin. Some soldiers sharpened their weapons over and over, not because they needed to, but because they needed something to do, something to control. Others sat in silence, staring into nothing, thinking, imagining, regretting. The mind left alone too long begins to wander into dark places. What would the battle feel like? Would it be quick or slow? Would they hesitate? Would they survive? Or worse, would they run? Cowardice wasn't just feared, it was punished. harshly, publicly. So even those who wanted to escape stayed, trapped not by walls but by expectation, by fear of what would happen if they didn't fight. And sometimes that pressure broke people. Arguments turned violent. Panic spread in waves. A single false alarm could send hundreds scrambling in chaos, grabbing weapons, shouting into the darkness. All for nothing. But the damage was done, because every day in that camp pushed soldiers closer to a line, a breaking point, where fear didn't just exist, it took control. And once that happened, the battlefield wasn't the most dangerous place anymore. Their own minds were. An army without control collapses, and in ancient war camps, control didn't come from trust. It came from fear. Commanders understood something simple. If soldiers weren't afraid of the enemy yet, they needed to be afraid of something else. So discipline was enforced harshly, publicly. Punishments weren't hidden. They were meant to be seen. A soldier caught stealing food might be beaten in front of everyone. Another accused of disobedience could be tied up, humiliated, or worse, made into an example. Because one act of defiance could spread. And in a camp already on edge, that was dangerous. Very dangerous. Some armies practiced extreme forms of discipline. Units were held responsible as a group. If one man failed, others suffered with him. This created pressure, constant pressure. You didn't just fear making a mistake. You feared what your mistake would do to the men beside you. Trust became complicated. Loyalty wasn't always real. Sometimes it was forced, built on survival, not brotherhood. And yet commanders had to maintain order somehow, because without it, the camp would turn into chaos long before the battle even began. Training continued, even in these harsh conditions. Soldiers drilled repeatedly, rehearsing movements, formations, commands, over and over and over. Not just to prepare for combat, but to replace fear with instinct, to make the body act, even when the mind wanted to freeze. But no amount of training could fully erase what was happening inside these men. They were tired, hungry, afraid, and being held together by force. Because once discipline slipped, even for a moment, the entire army could fall apart. Before ever facing the enemy, the battle ends. The noise fades, the shouting stops. The clash of metal becomes memory. But the war doesn't. Because the soldiers return to the same place they left. The camp. Only now, everything is different. The men who come back aren't the same ones who marched out. Some are wounded, some are silent, some don't return at all. And their absence is felt immediately. Empty spaces, unclaimed belongings, fires that burn a little quieter. No one talks about it directly, but everyone notices. The camp becomes heavier, not just with bodies, but with what those bodies have seen. Victory doesn't always feel like victory, because even when an army wins, the cost is standing right in front of them. Injuries are treated with limited knowledge. Pain is constant. Infection is a growing threat. The same conditions that spread disease before the battle now make recovery even harder. And mentally, there's no rest, no time to process what just happened, because another battle could be coming, soon, very soon. So the cycle continues. Eat what you can, sleep when possible, prepare again. Some soldiers grow numb, others become more aggressive, a few completely withdraw. The camp holds all of it, the fear before, the violence during, and the silence after. Because this is the part history often leaves out. War wasn't just fought in moments of action. It was lived, in between them, in places like these camps, where the real damage didn't always happen in battle, but in the long, quiet stretches before and after, where soldiers slowly carried the weight of war until there was nothing left of who they used to be.